We're on now. You didn't do the other intro. Okay, whatever. All right. Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration, the Power is Within podcast. And we have a special guest tonight from Colombia. Adriana is joining us. Do you have her on yet? Bring her on.
I
Hey.
am here.
Oh, no, we got a voice problem. Hang on.
Yeah.
Come on, cameraman. Bear with us here. We had this all figured out, but we can't hear you now.
Mr. Cameraman over there.
He was complaining to me, said he had it all ready to go.
Okay, yeah, just let us know when you think you got it fixed. Hello? Can you hear
Hi,
us?
how are you? I can hear you well, but I don't know if you can hear me.
No,
There
we can.
we
Yeah,
go.
we can.
We got
it. Yeah.
Are you there,
All right, we're set.
Adriana?
Well, how are you doing?
I wasn't sure if I was pronouncing your name. It's Adriana, right?
It's like Adriana, but
In,
most
in
of
English.
Americans,
Adriana.
yeah, it could be that.
And you're here in America now, so you got to go with
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
don't
This
worry.
is my good Spanish teacher from Colombia. She was in Colombia when she was teaching me Spanish, and she came up here on a grant or something. You're up here working, or what are you doing up here
Yeah,
in
so
America?
in America. Okay, I'm currently here being an au pair because I wanted to experience the USA culture. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now, like during this year.
Okay. Well, she saved us tonight because I had another guest scheduled, and they flaked out on me at the last minute. So I asked Adriana, and she graciously accepted at the last minute, the last 20 minutes actually, to come on and be our guest tonight. So I'll introduce the rest of these. I'll let them introduce themselves. We have my son here.
I'm Mark. I'm 21.
I'm Henry. I'm 18. I'm Claude. I'm 20.
I'm Redo. I'm 15.
I'm Paulina, I'm 15. I'm Paulina, I'm 15.
Yes. Four of these. This is my daughter, two sons, neighbor friend.
I'm adopted.
Adopted.
Right,
Yeah.
he's
Adopted son.
He's over here all the time. And
Two
Mark, my
sons.
oldest son, and Frank, the cameraman, and my other boy's sleeping. He's 14. So we have a full house tonight. Okay, today's topic is going to be, what was the topic? What did I put down?
International
dating. And we're going to get Adriana's insight on what it's like in Colombia. How old are you, Adriana, if you don't mind me asking?
24.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. I thought you were somewhere around there. So
I did have a question before we start.
okay, let's go.
What do you think about the American women? Like, what do you think their attitude is, or what is your perspective on them?
Okay, right now I have like a very specific perspective because I have been here, just like in here. I haven't been around America. It's just like in a town next to Seattle. It's like 20 minutes from Seattle. So this is my perspective now, just like 2 months in here. So they are very good. I don't know. They are very kind. They are very open-minded. I like that. So in sometimes, for example, in Colombia, it's not in that way. So we in Colombia we have this Christian religion that is like above everything. So that's like the main difference with American women.
Oh, so you're saying they're a little, how do I say, freer here, maybe?
Yeah, like in terms of thoughts, yeah, like
In terms
yeah,
of
like
the way they
what
talk.
they believe, and they
Ah.
are more open-minded.
How big of a town are you in now? What's the population? Do you know? Or is it a suburb of
I'm
Seattle?
not sure. Let me check and I will let you know in 1 minute.
What's the next question?
Seattle.
Seattle?
It's like 12,000
Yeah,
people.
that's about like this town. It's a pretty small town then. Now, is that
Yeah.
a suburb of Seattle or is it disconnected? Is it?
It's disconnected. It's like
Oh, okay.
20 minutes
Yeah, that's
from there.
a small town. That's like here.
Yeah.
We only have 10,000 here, but we have a lot of people.
Well, it's
We are
12
almost
now.
we're almost a suburb.
Sorry.
We're almost a suburb of St. Louis because it's for us. It stretches all the way out. There's really no break anymore
Yeah.
between St. Louis and our town.
I'd probably say there's like a 10-minute break between, it's just like nothing until
Mhm.
until Troy comes back, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's building up. So, okay, I lost my thing here. What happened? Okay, now we're going to ask you some questions about Colombian women. What does a Colombian? I know you can't speak for all Colombian women, but you know Colombian women better than, of course, we do. So, what does a Colombian woman look for in a man? If she's looking for a maybe a relationship or a man that she wants to go out with, what does she look for in a man?
I think that would depend on the age of the person. So, for example, if you're looking for college girls or if they are above 30s, they are looking for different things. So, when you're like in high school, you're just starting dating with people. So, they're just like exploring and they're trying to find whatever they want. So, they're just experiencing different things, like to know each other and to know themselves. So, it's up to them. But for example, if you're above 30s, they are looking for a very like I don't know, committed relationship. Maybe I'm not sure. But for example, a Colombian women look for somebody who is very kind, especially like I don't know, with the waitress, with people like guards, police officers, those kind of like people that care for you. And also, I'm not sure. I think somebody that can be also like a little bit of risky person because we like somebody with to have fun with. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's that
Some
kind of person.
someone who is adventurous.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
word.
you don't want someone who's boring. I know. I went out with this girl, and she told me from Colombia. She told me that the Colombian men weren't very faithful, and I said, "Why is that?" And she said, "Because there's so many beautiful women in Colombia." She said, Do you find that the Latin culture, the Colombian men are maybe less faithful than some other cultures, or is that just a stereotype, or what's your opinion on that?"
No, I think they are less faithful than other cultures. For example, from here, I know that like the perspective that people have when they are growing up is like to have a marriage, like a stable one. So they are just committed into like one couple, or that would depend on the family and whatever. But we are not like in the same page. Like for example, like especially men are not that faithful because they have like different opportunities to find beautiful women, and from not just from Colombia but from other parts of the world. Now with technology this is so easy. So yeah, they are looking for opportunities, also trying new perspectives. So yeah, we consider like Colombian men are less faithful than people or men from other cultures.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I asked you about what you think about the women that you've experienced around your life. What about the men in the U.S.? What have you experienced with them, or you know?
Okay, in here, like around
Had a,
here,
have
the
you had a
men.
date yet? No, I'm just.
Yeah.
No, but if I have like the perspective from here is very like very similar. Like they are very committed into the families, and I live like in this family in around these people who has like a family, like dad and mom or just dad, so
Mhm.
single moms or single parents. So yeah, that's like the perspective I have right now. But like young people are looking for knowing each other, but most of the au pairs, for example, are that are looking for a couple. They like Americans because they said they are very tender, very kind, and very respectful. So those are the comments I have heard about that.
So I didn't know if I caught that right, but did you say that Colombian women like what do they think of extranjeros or foreigners?
Yeah, they love foreigners or in general. So it's like there's something new for us. Like Colombian
Yeah.
is just like okay, the new guy is tall, is blonde, blue or green eyes.
Yeah.
So come on,
It's the
it's
blue
a
eyes,
new
right?
thing. Yeah. So I want my kid being blue eyes, or I will make you being green eyes. So something like that. So it's like that popularity that has like the foreigner person going there because it's something new for them. Like it's not as in here that, for example, we can find different cultures, people from everywhere in the world, everywhere speaking different languages. Colombia is very just like different cultures, but inside the same country. So the foreigner would be like the new
Right.
everything of it. So he would catch the attention of everybody for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Now, you're from Medellin, that's right.
No,
Correct? No. I think
no.
you told me. I forgot. Where are you from? Not Bogota.
I'm from a small town in Boyacá. It's very different from Medellin. Yeah,
Now, where is that located in regards to Bogota or a major city, Cartagena?
yeah. It's
Medellin?
like 5 hours from Bogota, I think.
South? North? Which way? Do you know?
I'm not sure. It's like
Asking all
west,
Yeah.
the
between west.
Is it up or down?
Yeah, that's what and everything.
Which way is
Yeah.
it? Okay, so is it a pretty small town where you're from, or?
Yeah, but I was living in a kind of big city. It was called like college city or
Yeah,
university city, and
yeah.
so the population it's most like young people who are studying different things because it's like one of the centers of the different universities of the country. So it's like most like that.
So I've been to Colombia quite a few times, but I'd never been to smaller towns like that. Are the women out there a lot different from the women like in the cities like Medellin or Bogota?
Yeah,
I'm guessing they probably are. In what
yeah, for
respects do
sure.
you what respects are they different?
So, as I said, it has like the Catholic religion is very present in the culture. So, especially small towns. So, some people is just like around that, like no abortion thing, just one couple until the marriage. Like in super small towns, other people is just trying to go to the city. But women from the cities, from Colombian cities, are more open-minded too, and they are more like looking for different things. They are looking for knowing different cultures, different languages, and they are taught in that way. But for example, in the small towns, they are just taught like to go to the big cities, and that's like the main point, like one of the main goals. So yeah, that's like the big difference between them.
So they want to get out of the small town and go to the
Yeah,
Mhm.
city, the
yeah,
big city.
Like most
Yeah.
people do.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
Mhm.
like we live in, Missouri. It's like what you're taught is go to the big city, and that's where your life is going to begin, or
Yeah,
whatever happens
yeah,
to be. That's
yeah.
where you start everything.
No, for sure.
Well, let me ask you this. Um, do you think it's normal for a girl to go through the party phase? Do you understand what that is? The party phase where they're kind of out there running around loose, let's say. Do you think that's normal? Do all girls you think go through that or just more what's your opinion on that?
city girls are more in that page. Like small town girls, it could be at the very beginning, maybe just because experiencing the thing, and maybe she would like it. She will continue going, but for sure, it's something that women in the cities, in the main cities, do in Colombia. So especially Bogota, Medellin, the big cities, or Medellin, Cartagena, Barranquilla. Those are cities that are very populated, and the main festivals of Colombia are there. So for sure, they are party girls.
Yeah. You seem to be more conservative, at least that's my opinion of you, that you have more of a conservative
Yeah.
attitude than some of the other girls I've talked to from down. We've spoken about that during our classes. Do you think that we have a phrase up here we call body count? Do you understand what that? How many men a woman? Do you
Yeah.
think that matters for a man when he's looking at a woman? That do you think it matters to him if she's been with a lot of different men, or if she's just been with one or two, or maybe even nobody? Do you think? What's your perspective on that?
I have like very strong thoughts about this because usually it happens just with women, not with men. So, for example, men can have a lot of couples, and
Exactly.
that wouldn't matter. But yeah, so I think that matters in Colombia. Yeah, usually if it's just for Colombian opinion, it matters in Colombia. Or men are thinking about that all the time, or asking you how many boyfriends have you been with, and how many
Exactly.
couples, and yeah. So I think it matters there. So for sure it matters there, but it has been like changing, but it's like baby steps, not that big changes. So yeah,
Hmm.
Well,
that's
I
for
know up here there's kind of a push to um, say that, well, women can go out and do the same thing men do and it doesn't matter. But as you said, it may not be fair. It's not fair, but that's the way. If a man has 100 women, he's considered a stud, as they call it up here, or a player. It's okay. But if a woman does that, she's considered a cheap woman. So it's just the way it is. It doesn't have to be fair. That's just the way it is. And it's like people don't realize. I know up here, it's not unusual for a girl 20 years old to have been with what? Give me an idea of a body count. 30 men. Now, when I was younger, it was easy to find a 20-year-old girl who maybe had only been with one or two guys. For example, my first girlfriend had only been with maybe one other guy besides me. And when we broke up, she was 21 and she married the next guy she was with. Now, that was common back during my time, but Paulina here has friends that are her age and younger, and some of them have a double-digit body count.
Yeah, like 10.
Already. So yeah, go ahead.
I don't mean to cut you off. There's this thing that females had. It was called Hot Girl Summer, which at the time it was working for them. But now there's a thing for guys. It's called City Boys Up. They're like City Boys Up. You know what I'm saying? Bredo posts.
Yeah.
He sends me posts all the time like that, where these guys are running around having relationships with multiple different women. And it's just like City Boys Up. So we took the Hot Girl Summer and we took it for us guys and turned it into City Boys,
So I have a question for you. So I guess in your opinion, like my dad said, obviously, it's not necessarily like a fair subject, but in my opinion, do you think that a woman should be able to go and be with as many men as she wants to and still be able to have a specific standard for like a man?
I'm not sure. So I think it would depend on the woman itself, because some women can just like hang out with men and not going or not having relationships, like sexual relationships with them, but other can do it, and other can just cover that like past. But it's a matter of having like a record of them, like how could it affect your future life. So who else knows about this? And it's a matter of that. Doesn't matter in which culture. I think it's a matter of who knows, or if the guys that you have been going with are talking with others and letting them know. It's something about that, like comments that might appear in a normal conversation between, I don't know, guys group or something like that. It's most about that specifically the number of like the body counting that you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good standpoint.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Do you think that a woman could have this like same relationship with a man as like, okay, so let's say she has a high body count and tries to have a relationship with a man. Do you think she could have the same relationship if she had a high body count as if she had a low body count?
I'm not sure specifically, but I think that it could happen. But that would depend also on the personality of the person or that girl. So because so there are people who is just telling, like, I have been with, I don't know, 20 guys and I'm like the master of this. But there are other people that can just hide that part and just do like anything happen. So that would happen, or that would say it's something like about personality and about the way they handle the situation and what they are looking for. So if they are looking to show you as men that they have been like with many others or not, that would like say like, oh, I have been with this or that. But if you don't matter about that, or if it's just like hanging out like a normal date, maybe that situation or that kind of date, that kind of information wouldn't appear in the conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they've done studies that shows that women with like 5 to 10 or double-digit body count have a hard time pair bonding. It causes them to not be able to stay. And I can only guess it's because maybe once they've been with quite a few guys, it's just easy for them to jump to another guy, as opposed to a woman who's only been with one or two men. She really doesn't want to go with another man because she's gotten used to being with the same guy and she wants to work it out. As where someone who's accustomed to being with this guy and that guy, it's just easy. I don't have to put up with this. I'll go get another man. And it becomes like, it's almost like whenever they give themselves away to a lot of different people, it kind of devalues them. It really psychologically does damage to them because, well, like they say, a man can go into a bar. He's got to put out effort, or go somewhere. He has to put out effort to pick up a woman, and he has to be something. But a woman could just go in a bar or a park and sit down there and grunt, and the guys will come over and say, "Hey, I'll be with you." She just has to say yes.
Yeah.
So really, she's giving up, is where a man actually has to put out effort. So if she just gives herself freely to any man or a lot of different men, this devalues her within herself. It does cause some psychological damage. Studies have shown. And we compare, I heard this analogy once, I liked it. It's like if you ask a woman, would you rather have a new iPhone or one that's been used by 10, 20, or 30 people? Of course, she wants to take the brand new iPhone. The iPhone with been used by 20 or 30 people is her, if she's had a high body count. She doesn't want that. So a lot of women want to think, especially in the USA, that it doesn't matter. But as I said, I'm not saying it's fair. It does matter, because a man doesn't want to go out and wonder, well, has that girl been with, has this guy been with my girl? He doesn't know if she's been. And also the OnlyFans thing here too. And I'm not bashing OnlyFans. That's another thing. A man doesn't want to know that his woman has been on Do you know what OnlyFans is?
Yeah.
Okay. And all the guys have been looking at her, and she's been doing whatever it is they do on there to get money. That's another thing. So it really just devalues themselves. Like, scarcity creates value. Gold is valuable because it's scarce. If your woman's been with a lot of guys or been out there and everybody's seen her, it's not scarce. She's not, everybody's seen her. It's like it lowers the value. At least that's the way most men see it.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, that, in terms of it all, like you said, it's not fair, but it actually all ends up circling back, to itself. So one of the things is what makes it so different with a man, whenever he's been with so many different women, is that, it's not necessarily that, oh no, he's having a lot of, sexual relationship with a lot of women. It's more of, oh, he's actually managed to woo his way in there, work his way in there multiple times.
Took a certain amount of skill.
Yeah, so he's obviously got the skill to do it with multiple people. So that's what, the women, I guess, are kind of becoming or are attracted to. It's not necessarily, oh yeah, because nobody wants it rubbed in their face how many people you've slept with. I mean,
it's also
really does.
Also called pre-selection. If a woman sees that other women want the man, then she thinks there must be something about him that's attractive.
Yeah,
but also with men too, it will. Because I've read about some of the players that had like up into the hundreds of women, and eventually it starts to get to them too. A lot of them kind of get nutty after they've had so many. They just get tired of doing it, or they get. There's a couple guys that have had kind of really went off the deep end, because it messes them up too over a period of time.
Yeah, it's like an obsession. Just anything you do, you get too much of it, you start becoming obsessed, and you start pushing it more and more and more. With anything, it's like drugs or alcohol or anything like that.
Yeah, it becomes like a drug.
What's your opinion on this, Colin?
Well, actually, I had a question for her.
Go ahead.
Okay, let's say, for example, there's a man with a high body count and there's a woman with a low body count, or they both have a high body count. If they get into a relationship, do you think the woman will stay more loyal, or do you think the man has a higher chance of staying loyal?
That's a good question.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't know. For sure, it would depend on them. So personality and how they have been raised, is very important. Like the educational part too. So the family values and that kind of stuff is very important there in that kind of question. But I think that would depend on both of them, but especially men. I have this thought that when men decide something to be loyal, they will keep their promise. And I think in this case, men would be more loyal in that specific situation.
That's a pretty good
point.
We have sound.
You have a question?
No, we have sound.
Okay.
No, that was a good question though. Go ahead.
Brandon? Questions, opinions, remarks?
Okay. So I do have a question. Do you think it's more important that a man has a higher body count or a woman? And if is that pretty much the same question?
That's a good question.
No,
it's not,
okay.
but it's a good question.
Yeah, so pretty much do you think there's a difference between if a man has a higher body count or if a woman has a higher body count?
As far as perspective, society looking at it?
Yeah.
And there is a difference for sure, but I don't know. Maybe some women are looking for a man that is more experienced in that kind of in that kind of like situation. So maybe they are looking for a man with a high body count, and you like men specifically try to teach women during this process. So they try to find like a person with low body count just to teach them, and I think that's like how the most of the relationships have been handled like around now in this specific age in this specific era. So yes, it's most like about that, but I'm not sure. That would depend also in the attitude of the man when you find like a woman that could be loyal, could be interested in you, but you already know that has a high body count. You maybe can feel like it's not okay because she knows more than you. So that would depend also in the type of man like she's hanging out.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say something too. That's the thing. Most women would rather be with a guy who maybe has more experience, but guys they would rather be with a woman who has less experience. Which you know they don't want to be with a girl that has multiple bodies, but a girl would rather be with a guy who has, I guess, multiple bodies. It's just
and another thing that goes along with that too, it's not necessarily, well, I mean, that's a big part of it too. But another thing is too that I've realized and watched and seen happen, and I've also heard directly from multiple women is, nobody wants to. Us guys, we're different. Obviously, we have a different way of thinking and stuff. But as a female, no female really wants to compete for a spot that no one else is competing for. They'll have a guy and they'll be like, okay, if nobody else wants him, what's the point? What's the chase? They don't necessarily want to be with somebody who they're not going, that no one else wants, that no one else is competing for, that no one else has their eye on. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have women falling over your feet directly right in front of you all the time, 24/7. It just necessarily means that, she just doesn't want to be in a relationship or with someone who is not necessarily desirable who is not desired by anybody else, So it goes along with that. Like you said, more partners, not even just sexually, but just more partners probably means that, you can talk, you got
some
something,
sort of game,
you got something that she wants, if other women want it, then the main woman who's looking at you is probably going to think the same, like, oh, okay, so many different girls, so many different things. What's so special about them?
That's the thing too. I'll say this with Paulina. I know she's experienced this herself, and I'll let her speak for herself here in a second. But she's experienced guys who are giving her all their attention because they have no other option. So go ahead and speak on that.
Recently, there's been a guy who has been giving me, I guess you could say,
What's his name? No.
Don't put him on
pretty
blast,
much all of his attention. I mean,
Who is it?
he offers to do like very crazy things, and I'm not gonna say like specifically what he's offered to do because then he'll know that I'm talking about him.
Better not be too crazy.
But he
he
just offers to like walk certain places at certain times for me, and like if he had a car he would do this, and if he had this he would do this, and it's kind of like I did want him at the beginning, but then the more I realized who he actually was and how he acted when it came to a female, my perspective on him kind of changed a little bit, and I kind of just slowly started pushing myself away because I just got out of a relationship, so I'm not looking for anything right now, and I just don't really know.
And also, but I'll say this too. It's like you said he was offering to like walk or get ride or whatever it happens to be. That's the thing. Girls don't want to know that they don't want to know that you're going to do whatever it happens to be to get to them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like a lot of guys think, and even girls will act like they want you to do whatever you can.
Walk 1,000 miles.
1,000. Yeah, but when you do that, it becomes obsessive. It seems like to them it's obsessive, and they get unattracted.
Yeah.
You become boring. You become a consistent thing that they can have on the side. Oh, well, I'm gonna break up with you, but you can be my friend.
Be my friend, right?
And just in case anything else happens, I'll have you there to comfort me.
And that's like going back to like pretty much the whole subject of international dating. So okay, yeah, let's say I happen to be dating someone, or you happen to be dating someone internationally, someone from Colombia or something. And, you can't give somebody your full attention. But, you guys being so far apart, it's not necessarily that it requires more attention, but you guys are far apart. You guys don't live near each other, so it's not as easy. Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line whenever it comes to
Okay.
where do you draw the line whenever with international dating? Where do you draw the line, like where you're giving her too much attention, and you're not giving her enough? So obviously, it's easier. Not necessarily easier, but it's easier if you're like with the person quite often. You guys see each other in person pretty often. But if you're dating long distance or internationally or whatever it might be, where do you draw that line where it's okay, this is the amount of attention I got to give her because she's so far away, and this is the amount of attention I got to give her because she is far, or got to take back.
I just want to add a little something. That's the thing too. Like with international dating, some women out of the U.S. country understand that men are there to support them as well, and they give them financial help and everything, and they give the help when it comes to being a wife or whatever it happens to be. I mean, that's all.
Well, that's something different. Go
I
ahead.
got a question. I don't know if anybody asked this, but do you think it is okay for a man to date a woman and like she could either have a high or low body count, but him have other females on the side?
That would depend on the arrangement you have with that person. So if for example, you're dating with a person and you let her know, like, this is like just hanging out, I have a girlfriend, just like being super clear since the very beginning, because sometimes you can like really hurt people just because of that, like saying like you're the only one, whatever, and then you realize that you have been with other people. It's the same like if one woman do this to you, so it's the same. It's like about trusting in that person. So maybe if you can be super clear and the person accepts, that would be awesome, because it's not like a relationship, or it's a relationship, but it's not like a committed one. It's not. It's something like hanging out with that person, and you can count on that person, but not specifically you are gonna marry that person. So being clear since the beginning would be awesome, like for both parties.
Well, let me ask you a question. I know in Colombia, or at least I think, they don't have the social, let's say, parachutes or structure or systems to support. Um, we have what we call a welfare system here. Are you familiar with that?
Yep.
Like here in the States, I mean, like on my street, down the street there, you don't actually have to work here. You can get free food, free money, free housing, and I don't know, some other programs or whatever. Now, it's not like that in Colombia. I mean, I've seen the outer city, and it's pretty poor out there. Do they have those type of systems there?
Like any
government aid that a person could actually live without ever working?
We have some aid, but it's not as well as in here. So, for example, you can receive certain amount of money just for two children. So, if you have more than two, just two of them are gonna receive that money. Like it could be for education, it could be for food, and that kind of situations. For example, I don't know, the healthcare system is awful, like in general. So you can access to it, but like for example, one appointment with a specialist will take you 3 4 months. It would be for free, but you will if it's like
Yeah.
serious, you will be dead at that moment when you have your
Yeah.
appointment.
Up, up.
It's not, it's free, it's for free, but it's not like good. So you have to wait like a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah. It was
time.
the same way in Latin America. You had the public hospital, and you
Yeah.
had. It's not like that here. I mean, they have the system for the kids that don't have that actually are on the welfare or the government aid. They can get care today. It's just that simple. It's the system is much better here. Well, with that being said, would it be safe to say, because the economy, of course, I read yesterday, I don't know if it's true, you can verify it, that the average pay for a woman there of 18 or 19 for an average job would be 150 or $200 a month. Is that correct or not?
Yeah, so the minimal stipend there right now is around $250, like for everybody. Doesn't matter who, women or men. The minimum stipend is that one. But yeah, so for example, if you're like not working for like I'm not sure how to do it, to say this. Like if you're not working like for a company or something like that, you can receive less than that.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that's something like that. Yeah, that's like the
So,
price where or the amount of money we receive.
so in contrast to here, would it be safe to say that a woman 18 to 20, 24, 25, if she did not have a family or a man to support her or to help her, she would be living less than optimally.
Yes, or we can just like work super hard for doing things like, I don't know, like a waitress, like in nightclubs or something like that. Something that allow you to study and work to pay your bills, but it would be just like surviving, yeah, for a while, at least until you finish your career, your degree at college or whatever you're doing. Yeah, it would be like just
But you would still
surviving.
have to live. You would have to live with your family or share apartment with a couple
Yeah.
of people or something like that.
Yeah, but if
Yeah,
you have to pay a rent, it would be like extra job, like something like that. Very hard to do.
well, because as you and we spoke about this, the abundance of sugar babies down there, because there's, I think, because there's so many beautiful women down there, and some people up here have a tendency to look at that as because up here, some of the younger men have this big dilemma about, well, who's going to pay for the date, because women up here are really trying to get into the sameness and equality, but then again, they want a traditional man, but they don't want to be a traditional woman as far as like traditional women used to be. But I know it used to be up here years ago that a woman needed a man's support directly. But now men have set systems and structures in place that a woman is under the illusion she doesn't need a man. She doesn't need a man directly, but she needs the systems that men have put together so she can actually make it appear by herself fine. But down there, they don't have the same structural systems set in place. So if a woman doesn't have a man, she's either got to stay with the family or
Find
do
another way.
it out or find another way, like a lot of women down there do. And that's not necessarily, but up here, men look at that differently because they don't understand. We live in such a paradise up here, really, compared to the rest of the world. I mean, down there in Medellin, if you get out on the outskirts of town in the barrio, it's rough out there. I mean, you got people all over that live in boxes and tents, and it's just commonplace. Same as in Latin America. But so many people here in the U.S. have never been out of the state, so they have no idea. They're so far removed from that life. They don't realize that 85% of the people don't live like we live here in the world. I mean, this is luxury.
Yeah.
The poor people here
Are rich.
are rich compared to a lot of the people that live normal lives, what they call normal. Like we're in Latin America, it's not unusual for the uncles, the aunts, the cousins, the mom, the dads, the kids married to all live in one house or 2 or 3 houses together. As we're up here, we got a 5,000 square foot house, and you got a kid and a mom and dad, and that's it. Two Escalades out in the driveway.
And that's the funny thing too about the kids that live up here in the U.S. They have everything, but they're still depressed. You know, they're like, "Oh man, it sucks, this and that." But I want to go back to this question Mark had earlier. I didn't get you didn't get a response for what you were saying. You were talking about the difference or some sort of difference between.
Like pretty
ahead.
much just to break it down, like just to make it even simpler. Do you think that the attitude that women in the United States have compared to the attitude that women in other countries have is because of, for example, the AIDS that we have? Like, so, and, you know, because now there's so much aid that, you know, they quote unquote don't need a man, you know? So do you think that those aids have caused or have made the women be the way that they are up here? Do you think that it's kind of had some sort of contribution to it?
Yes, of course. Yeah, because as you are saying, you can live without men. But if you strictly need a man to survive, you're gonna be attached to any tradition. Doesn't matter what. Like it doesn't matter if you want or not. So yes, that kind of aid and that kind of freedom that here offers, that this country offers to women, is very awesome. Like in that case, because they allow women to survive or to live without any other help, like external help from men.
Yeah,
But
right.
in Latin America, it's very difficult to do that. Like you need like somebody else to support you if you want to do like great things, because you have to work together, or if not, you're gonna. It's possible, but you will have to work like super hard. That's why we continue having this kind of or this point of view that we need somebody else to help us.
And
Let me ask you this question before I forget it. How is it, you're from out in the rural area in the country down there in Colombia, how is it when a girl is unwed and she comes up pregnant? Is that frowned on? How is that viewed where you're from? Your part of the country.
Okay, it seems like it's not gonna have anything in life. Like the usually the baby is gonna be with the grandpas, and grandpas are gonna take care of him or her, and then this person has to work for giving what the child will need. So yeah, that's
How
what
does
what happens
how does
usually.
society look at it though? How do the local people look at that?
They're gonna be super judged by everybody. So doesn't matter if they are family or not. They're gonna be judged like by uncles, brothers, sister, dad,
Yeah.
and mom. Yeah, it's super judged.
Yeah. So promiscuity, at least in your area, is frowned on. You understand what
Yeah,
promiscuity is? Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. It
yeah.
used to be that way. It used to be that way up here
Mhm.
back when I was growing up, but now it's like it's not quite like that. You had a question?
I forgot it.
Okay.
I had it
Yeah,
for a minute.
I had
and
a
I
question.
completely
I wanted to
lost
ask
it.
it. Go ahead.
But go ahead. Go.
Okay, so in the U.S. and in Medellin, it's completely different. But when you are looking for a man, is there a lot of competition with other women to look for a man that's loyal?
That's a good question.
It could be, yeah, but that depends on the kind of man you're looking for. So,
Mhm.
because for example, there are girls that look for her or their couples at parties. So that's the kind of guy that they want. There are others that look for them, like maybe at college, maybe I don't know, the church. I don't know.
Mhm.
So that would depend on the kind of man you are looking for. But if it's gonna be competitive when it's like the new man who like fits in all the standards, like I don't know, handsome, maybe with some money, maybe from another part of the country of or the world. It would be like the sensation of the moment. So everybody's gonna be super competitive just to be friend or to be close to this person. Yeah, it would be competitive.
Okay, so have you had like any sort of influence from being in America from any women or men or any person, any influence or anything like that when it
Like
comes
influence about my perspectives or about what?
anything
Or
just with the
Perspectives on
perspective or
societal standards
society
about
or
women.
women or men, whatever it happens to be.
oh yeah, for sure. So I have different like perspectives now. Like it's like open my mind to different cultures, and as I said, America is like the center of the world because you have everybody here. So you can find people. So in my neighborhood right now, I have people from Japan, from China, from Nicaragua, and from other countries, from India, for example, and I can like speak with them, talk with them, and hang out with them, and know each other through the conversation, and they help me to understand the world in different ways. So yeah, going out doesn't matter if it's this country or another. You are gonna understand like different things that you cannot just studying the culture in your home country.
Is this the first time you've been out of Colombia?
Yeah.
And I mean,
Go ahead.
cut
No,
off.
I'm done.
How have you liked it, like in America, compared to how it was in your country or wherever you came from? Like, what's the difference? Or
Mm, just like in terms of culture, like I'm with a family that likes different things from like what we used to. This is a very familiar family, so they like to hang out with family, to have dinners, to have fires, and that kind of situations. Like for example, that we don't have there, so we have like big celebrations, but it's not like going to hang out just like that. No,
Mhm.
so that's like one of the main differences, understanding the culture and the myths, that maybe breaking some myths about, I
Mhm.
don't know, Americans and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You found out how wonderful we are now. So
Yeah.
how do you like the snow? It's cold up there, isn't it? Is that the first time
Yeah.
you've experienced cold like that?
I was like in a snowy place before, but living in here, I have like plenty of that. So yeah, but it's okay. So I'm okay with the cold weather, but I'm wondering if I would be okay with the hot one in summer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I know that, like, from my experience, from it's been quite some time, obviously, since we've been back up to the United States, from Guatemala. But I know that, like, from my experiences, you do sacrifice sort of one thing for another. You get a lot of freedom up here and safety, but you also sacrifice, like not necessarily sacrifice, but you also there's a lack of cultures. We were very fortunate, like there's like without you having to go look for it, you have to go look for it. We were very fortunate to move into this neighborhood where it's all Hispanics, and we literally maintained and had our culture still attached to us and still do to this day, purely because we like lived in a all Hispanic neighborhood. But I will say, like, if you don't live in a neighborhood like this or live under the certain circumstances that we do, you do have to go out kind of out of your way to try to find different kinds of groups, like for example Hispanic groups or whatever kind of race you might be. You do have to go kind of looking for those. But due to the fact that you don't the lack of just being able to run into a group like that, you get a lot of freedom. Like you said, you're able to just go to like a bar out here or something, just in the it's a different celebration than when the whole town comes out and they're doing like a carnaval or some sort of thing like that, where everybody's together, so
I don't know if anybody has asked this question, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask it. We were talking about international dating. That's what the main topic is. What a woman, like, what type of women would go for guys out of the country, like, or what type of
for gringos? What kind of girl's gonna go for gringos?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Most of the people who think that they're gonna be like they're gonna have money to spend with them. So, for example, there are like money catchers everywhere in every single culture, but in Colombia, we have a lot. So we know that like the dollar price is very high there. So with just few dollars, you can buy a lot of things there. So you can just be good, like with a very high status, just with I don't know $1,000 per month. That is very different from here. So yeah, so if a gringo would be like available, of course you are gonna have like different options, like to go and to check, because they are gonna be like, hey, it's I can have this money just like hanging out with this guy. Okay, I'm in, like something like that.
And they prefer.
Well, I've asked you this before, and what was I'm not sure if we come up with the answer, but what was the expression that you had for beauty for dollars? Wasn't there an expression there that you told me about the bellezas? What do you remember what it was?
Oh, I don't remember exactly the expression, but we were talking about like beautiful women are looking for like money, like, but or we are taught in that way. So maybe some women just make surgeries to be like to have more boobs, more butts, just because they think that with that kind of body they are gonna have like a better like a better man. Or
with money,
richer man,
Well, I gotta say, down there, at least in Medellin, I know it's the land of noses and boobs and butts. They got, I mean, I always see these women with this plastic surgery, and they're always thinking they have to get their nose done in this. So it's not uncommon to see that. But people up here may think that's, I'll use the word crass, because they don't realize that in a country like Colombia, unless they have a man that's got some money, they're doomed to live in the barrio, which is rough out there. I mean, the tin shacks and the rough buildings and crime. So, I mean, they do the same thing up here. Of course, a woman, I mean, I want my daughter to marry someone who's got something. I would much rather her come home with a guy from the Toyota plant out there that's a vice president than some guy from McDonald's. I mean, why not? I mean, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Of course, we do have the women that just want the money, but there are women that want a guy who's successful, and the money goes along with it. So I don't think that's so terrible, but I know it's more profound in other countries because of the poverty and the lack. They need if they want to have a decent life for themselves and their kids with good health care, they got to have a man that's got a good job and makes good money. So I could see where there would be more of an attraction for foreigners than it would be for some of the locals. But there are men there. There are men, I know in Medellin, probably Bogota too, that make a lot of money. But I wonder, you can tell me this, is the social status, I mean, will a guy who, let's say, is making a lot of money, that is a CEO of a major company there, a Spanish guy, Colombian, is he going to seriously date a woman? Maybe she's beautiful, but she comes from the poor neighborhood. Will he just?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it could happen, but social status still matters a lot. So maybe the family of this guy is gonna push him to date just women from the same circle, social circle that him, like rich guys or rich girls. Yeah.
Yeah. He
So
may take her out for the weekend or something like that, but he's not going to take her seriously.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Dropping stuff here.
Yeah, I can't remember what I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
I was gonna.
say
Yeah.
something.
So
Go ahead.
speaking of which, I'm gonna say this too. It's like up here in the U.S. we have the term gold diggers. You know, which whether you're looking for money or whatever happens to be. Do you in a country like where you had lived, is there gold diggers or is there women looking for some sort of
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, for sure, it's the same term and is the same thing. So, yes, some people just looking for that, or some people is just looking for like a richer man just to have a high status in front of their families, like to demonstrate that they are able to have other things or to travel or to have, I don't know, brand shoes, brand things, brand clothing, that kind of stuff. But for sure, there are just girls who are looking for money. It's the same
And
term, and we have like one term that is like interesadas, that
Yeah.
is just looking for money.
Yeah, and I'll say this too: is it's like I'm sure a woman would rather be with someone as high status as like my father. You know, he's taking care of 6 other people. You know, giving them a household and everything like that, compared to someone who's 18 years old and doesn't have any,
Careless
and yeah, he doesn't have any financial anything, doesn't have goals for the future compared to
or even a future
yeah,
set up. Yeah,
he
for
doesn't
sure.
have anything planned. But that's the thing. It's like when a younger woman goes out with a older like man, they'll call them or they'll call her a gold digger and everything like that. But really, what it is a woman wants to be with someone high status who is going to have a future with her.
Yeah, well, I actually just recently, not necessarily recently, but in the past few years, throughout all this learning and stuff like that, I've actually had to realize that there is a fine line, one that you draw yourself, but there's a fine line between, a gold digger and then just a woman doing what a woman is made to do, finding someone who's going to be able to provide and take care of her, under most circumstances and stuff. So for a while, I had a lot of my friends, and a lot of my friends are very wealthy, my Gavin, or just even some of my friends, they just have good jobs, good money and stuff. And not too often, but have heard sometimes them say, oh, they're only here for my money. I've seen some girls go for some of the brokest dudes ever, but it was just, how they went about it. But, and so imagine if someone from here went down to somewhere like Colombia, they think that every single girl is a gold digger because they noticed that she's looking for or seeing if he's able to provide by asking for stuff or, getting money or something like that.
Yeah, and I want to add on real quick. That's the thing. Society looks at like young, older men dating younger women as like, oh, she's a gold digger. She just wants it for his money. Well, if he has money, he knows how to control his money. He doesn't have money for no reason.
Yeah, it takes a certain type of character to be able to handle
exactly.
that type of money.
Yeah, so he's not just going to be throwing his money at her. You know what I'm saying?
And you don't get that character, in my opinion, as me being 22 years old. You don't get that character until you are like
mature,
of dad's age or something, or even just like younger. Just you don't get that kind of maturity or character.
And they say men don't really mature and hit their height until they're about 35, and then of course they can maintain that for a longer time. I was going to ask a question too about about marriage. What is the average age of marriage in your area down there?
Like 26, 25,
26?
26. Yeah, but it's not something culturally, like now, it's not something that we are looking for. In here, like in America, it's something different. Like you have been taught or that you have to be like in a family. So it's very popular to be asked, are you marrying your boyfriend? Like, how long have you been dating with with this guy? Have you been married? Will you marry him or something like that? And we in Colombia said like, oh, I'm not sure. So like it's not something. It's not like the final goal, but in here it is. So, but in Colombia it's very popular, like 25, 26 years old, like to be married at that age.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I know up here a lot of the push is for the woman to have her career and not get in a hurry to be married and have kids. But the reality is this, that when a woman hits 30 years old, 90% of her eggs are gone.
Mhm.
And then her risk for high risk pregnancy increases dramatically. So there really is a window of time for women as opposed to men. There's not so much. So I think it's probably a good age to be sometime between 15 and 25, or at least before 30, because after that things can become difficult for a woman to. And also back to the money deal. And with women, you really have to be selective and careful about who you decide to marry and have kids with. Because
At least in the United States.
Well, I mean, down there too, because if he can't support the kids, you get hooked up with some loser and he's sitting home drinking beer on the couch. What are you going to do? I mean, so it's really important for a woman to be selective about what kind of a man she gets.
Yeah, and it's also, like there's also that kind of level of selectivity that a man also has to have because, now, well, in the United States at least, because you go and marry someone who doesn't have, good intentions for you or anything, you will lose everything that you have, as a
for
man.
the men up here, it's a high risk to be married and low reward.
For sure.
Because I don't know about how is it in Colombia, because up here, the courts are so involved in the marriage that it's just not good up here for a man. The divorce rate here is 50%, and 70 to 75% of the divorces are initiated by women because they have a lot. Yeah, they have a lot to gain from it because guaranteed, even if they're committing adultery, no matter what they're doing, we have no fault divorce. They're going to get the house, the kids, child support, and if they've been married for a while, half of everything that the man has, even if he had it before they got married. And in the state of Florida, if you've been married 10 years, you have to pay lifetime alimony. That included with child support and everything else that you get. So for a man to marry, it's a big risk up here. Now, it wasn't like that years ago, but it is now. Because it used to be if someone was committing adultery and you proved it in court, then they wouldn't get anything. But now it doesn't matter. There's no fault. It doesn't matter if you come home and your wife's in bed with somebody or your husband's in bed with somebody, there's no fault divorce. So I don't know, how is it down there as far as when a man and woman divorces, and what is the legal system's involvement in that?
Okay, so the main thing is like the thing separation. I'm not sure how to translate this into English. Like, for example, 50 and 50% of the things, I don't know, houses, cars, and any other properties, that kind of stuff. And about the kids, it's just like so easy for men because, for example, most of the cases, women has the responsibility of taking care of the kids, and men have to give like some estimate, but it's like depending on how much does the man is earning, how much is he having like per month. So yeah, and it's like the I don't know, it's the amount of money, you divide that into a half, and that half you divide that into the number of children you have. So that's like the amount of money you have to pay to a children, like to the mother for that children.
Child support, yeah. Do they enforce child support down there? Up here, if a man doesn't pay child support, they'll throw him in jail. Is that enforced down there or no?
Not that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's enforced up here. Well, I'm good with questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I had a question earlier, but I forgot
you
it.
didn't say too
Oh,
much.
you got a question?
She's usually talking, not tonight. Anybody else have any questions?
Hold on, let me think.
Anybody in the audience have any
I had-
questions?
Oh, I got a question. Okay, so I don't know if you've been to a lot of different places in Medellin, but in Guatemala and Mexico, there are words that are, I guess,
A different dialect.
yeah, different dialect. Is that the same over in Medellin or in
Yeah.
Colombia?
In Colombia, so Medellin has like a dialect, and for example, Bogota has another one. Yeah, it's very very similar. So in Latin American countries, also in like Mexico, it's the same thing. Like south, north, it's very different. Also in some customs too, and some words can mean different things. Like they're
Okay.
yeah. So yeah.
For sure. All right.
Oh, I had one more question. So what is it like? Where'd she say she was from Colombia? Or?
No,
Colombia.
she's from
Yeah,
out of the
Colombia.
country.
Okay.
West of Bogota,
Yeah. Okay. So
right?
what does it look like when someone's divorced? Is it a big deal or not? I
You
don't.
mean how society looks
Yeah.
at it?
Has it or just
Yeah.
people or anybody?
Yeah, how do people view divorce down there?
Yeah.
That would depend on the type of relationship. So for example, if they are fighting a lot and people already know that happening, it wouldn't be like anything
Like just
with
do
that.
it.
Yeah, but and it also depends on the popularity of the people. So with social status, so for example, if it's like, I don't know, the boss of the company, it would be like judged or something like that. But if it's normal people, I don't think so. They are just like
So like
different.
just pretty much standard, I guess, almost the
Yeah.
same thing as up here. Yeah.
Okay, so like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And the numbers are like increasing, so like divorce people is like, or people are getting divorced like easily than before. So I think because like some years ago you were taught that you have to be with the same man for like the whole life, and that, and as I don't know, the globalization has been appearing everywhere. You are being taught that doesn't matter if you are or married or not, that kind of stuff. So yeah, so divorce is like increasing there too.
It's a cancer that's coming from the U.S.
Yeah.
That's what,
Okay,
the
so
corruption of
spreading.
morals is going down.
So one last question: what do the men in like Colombia or any place like that, from where you've been or whatever, what do the men think of women having children? Does it matter to them, or from what you've learned, or from you've been taught?
Like getting into a relationship
Yeah.
with women who have children.
yeah,
Yeah, my friends, almost all of them have been in a relationship with a girl with a child. So I think it's very popular there. But we make jokes about the situation, but it happens all the time. So they are not like stigmatized as in other countries maybe, but they are dating and it's almost normal. It's not a big deal there.
okay, yeah.
So, are there a lot of single women there with children then?
Yeah.
Ah, it's common. It's because the guys are all players. They're all Casinos.
Yeah.
What I've learned, or what I viewed in the Latin culture, is very common for the man, if he's married, to have a mistress. I know when I was in Guatemala, I was riding with a taxi driver, and I knew he was married with kids. And he's talking to this woman, oh, amor, oh, mi amor, I love you. And I'm thinking it's his wife, but it's his girlfriend.
Yeah.
But it's just a common thing in the Latin culture for the man to have another. And I have to wonder, because sometimes, because the mother, the wives there usually are so connected with the wife's family and the mother. It's not, at least in Latin America, that they spend so much time with the mother. I guess the men don't mind, because then they can go out with their mistress. So it's really convenient now. But up here, when I was married to a girl from Latin America, I didn't like that, because when she was with her family, it's like I didn't even exist, because she's so wrapped up in her family. And she even told me that if I don't stay away from my family, it's going to destroy this family. So there's such a connection there culturally. And I've talked to other men that are from down there too, and they said when they came up, they said, I had to get away from my family, because they just don't want to let go, because for generations they've all grown up working and staying together because they had to. So for someone to break away from the family is very difficult. I don't know, is that something you've noticed there? It's a different than what we are up here. I got a brother, I haven't talked to him for a year. He lives 15 miles away. I mean, I don't think anything of it. So
For sure, family matters a lot, but that would depend. But yeah, it is usual. But they're kind of toxic families, because between them they are talking like, oh, your uncle is your dad or whatever. So they're just like in a very toxic relationship with their families, but they are still attached to their families, and because of culture. So yeah, that happens a lot. It's very similar to your description. It's pretty accurate. Yep.
all right, great. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up. You have any more questions?
No.
All right, well, thanks for joining us tonight, Adriana. We appreciate you bailing us out here at the last minute.
Yeah.
You were a great guest, and
Yeah, for
maybe we'll
sure.
have you on again sometime, and I will talk to you here in a few minutes after the show. All right, thanks
Okay,
again.
thank you. Okay,
Thank
see
you. Peace.
All right, we still on? No, we are?
Yeah, end it.
Oh.
End it. I gotta go to the bathroom.
Oh, okay, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show. Like and subscribe. Check out my website at marksinspiration.com, and we will be back next Saturday night at 6 p.m.